Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Jesse. My pronouns are he and him, and today we are playing Rebel Crown by Narrative Dynamics Games, a wonderful Forged in the Dark game of feudal intrigue. And we are playing, in particular, the Oak campaign, which seems pretty cool so far. 2 sessions in, this is our third session. Let's this is a game being run through the Gauntlet gaming calendar. The Gauntlet is an online community with forums and a zine and all kinds of, and most importantly, a gaming calendar through which you can sign up to play awesome games like this. So check us out, and let's just introduce ourselves quickly. I'm just going to go across the bottom of my screen here. So, Jax, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jex. I use they, them pronouns. And I don't think I have anything else to say.
Cool. Jason?
I'm Jason. I use he, him pronouns. I've been kicking around the Gauntlet a couple years. It's great. Check it out if you guys like online gaming.
Awesome. Josh?
Yeah, of course. Hi, I'm Josh. He, him, his. Yeah, Gauntlet, thumbs up, I guess.
Awesome, yeah. And Alexi, last but not least.
Hey, so I'm Alexi, he, him. You can follow all of my gaming endeavors online at Cloven Pine Games, so definitely check that out. Check out my Twitter feed, my itch.io page, my Substack, Murmurs from the Cloven Pine, to find thoughts and games and other bits of my gaming life.
Mm-hmm. And I guess like a brief promotional thing for Cloven Pine Games, I will be very shortly, like in the next day, posting some sessions of Alexi's game Checkpoint Midnight on the Gauntlet calendar, some playtest sessions. So keep your eyes open for that. It is a fun game, and in this session you might murder each other. So we'll see how that goes. You might not. We'll see. Cool.
I'm pumped, Jesse. I'm super glad you're running it.
Oh, I'm excited to do it too. So awesome. So that's who we are. We are playing with a number of safety tools today. The first safety tool is the X card. Any point anyone can say X, or put their hands up like this, or write in our group chat X, or click the X card button on our dice roller. And whatever thing in the fiction that they were unhappy with will be excised without requirement for justification, though I may ask some clarifying questions. The second set of safety tools we're using are some of Bo Sheldon's script change tools. Specifically, we're using Rewind, which lets you rewind back to a certain point in the fiction if you'd like, if something went sideways for you in some way. Again, no justifications required, although I may ask a couple of clarifying questions so that the material that you didn't want, that you're not pleased with, does not reappear. Pause, which lets us just pause the action, either because we need a break for whatever reason, or it's also useful for sometimes it can be uncomfortable to like stop the action in the middle and say, hey, I want to talk about something. So having an explicit tool where we say pause, it's there for that. So if you want to then say, hey, can we just talk about what's happening and, work out how we want to move forward, and then we can press play again when we're done. So breaks, and just a way to sort of when to give you a tool to stop the action, to talk about it if you want. You can use it for either of those things. And then the third script change tool we're using is fast forward, which lets you say, hey, I know what's going to happen. We all know that the beloved NPC has been killed, but we don't need to put it on camera. So we're just going to slide right through that, and then we'll go on to the next scene and have it have happened in the fiction, but not on screen. And then our third major safety tool is our lines and veils. We have a list that we have kept for our players, and you should all check on that and just see if you want it. Lines are things which will not appear in the fiction at all. We've determined what those are going to be. And veils are things which can appear in the fiction but will not appear on camera, or if they do appear, sort of like the camera will zoom out or pan away. The classics cutaway. The classic example is a couple might kiss, and then the screen will fade to black, and then cut back into the couple in bed smoking cigarettes. Everybody knows what happened. But it wasn't on. It was the camera didn't focus on it. Any questions about any of our safety tools? No. Fantastic. So yeah, if you want to add anything to the lines and veils, just drop me a note that you did, so that I know that they're there. And then that is that. So with that, let us meet our players, and we're going to go in reverse character keeper order. So let us start with our Vengeant. Jax, would you care to introduce us to Arkina?
Yeah. I am playing. Sorry, my character keeper is nowhere near my sheet. Okay. I'm playing Lieutenant Arkina Bellcrown, a former outrider of House Maze. House Maze is not down with our claimant, but I am. And I believe that the claimant is my only hope for redemption. I'll put myself in harm's way to protect her. And I will claim vengeance by driving out the Clarion Glen Wraiths. My drive is that I will show my enemy no quarter. And yeah, I'm just kind of a, I don't know, badass, grumpy fighter type.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Jason, how about you introduce us to our Chancellor?
Yeah, the Chancellor is Vendon Blackcowl. He's always covered in heavy black robes and a deep cowl. No one really knows what he looks like. He has shown a lot of interest in wraiths, in art, and how they're linked together and somehow mixed with some sort of still to be studied magical ability, mystical ability, spiritual ability, or something that the claimant has, Lady Siobhan. At the last session, Vendon spent some time and energy to start to organize a group of spies made up of these people called the Wraith Touched, who are sort of outcasts and untouchables in the society, people that have been wounded by wraiths. They have these visible silvery, spidery, looking webs on their skin, and they're shunned by people generally. So he's moved amongst them to try to organize them into a group of spies. And their leader is a man called Drifter. And in talking to Drifter, we saw sort of, none of the characters saw it, but to convince Drifter to join his cause, Vendon pulled up his sleeve and showed that he is also Wraith Touched. My drive is to transform this realm through art and beauty, and the claimant is my inspiration. She's an artistic genius, and the claimant's greatest asset is her drive. Point her in the right direction and things can be accomplished. And I believe Arkina is trying to spy on me because without any basis, she believes that I am a witch or a warlock or something.
No basis.
Zero basis. Wonderful, wonderful. Alexi, how about you introduce us to the Devoted?
Absolutely. So I am playing Sir Kevin Grist, the Devoted. He is a man of steely gaze and shiny armor. Knowledge of House Gronwyn.
Alexi, you
can you hear me now?
It out for a second. Yeah, you might just want to repeat the last thing you said.
Sure, a whole spiel. Kevin Grist is the Devoted. He is a man of steely gaze and shiny armor, constantly pacing. An acknowledged bastard of House Gronwyn. He has, managed to prove himself on the battlefield to earn a knighthood, and now he has entered the service of Lady Siobhan Derrick as the head of her household guard. He is also hopelessly and secretly in love with her. She is of much too high birth for him. This can never be, but he carries the torch nonetheless.
Wonderful. And last, but certainly not least, Josh, introduce us to the Claimant, please.
Yeah, of course. I am playing Lady Siobhan Derek. She is a cousin of some sort. She's from a secondary branch of the Derek house, not the main one. But the late Queen Guinevere Derek was her like great aunt or something, which is close enough that she has staked her claim to fight against the wicked usurper Owena Derek, who rules from the big city and who
Why
lets
the city?
chaos reign in the land of Dole, which will not do. So Siobhan is building up her army and going to force out her alleged relative.
Wonderful. Yes. So this is the retinue coming from the province of Clarion Glen to retake the kingdom of Dol from the usurper, and they have recently cleared the town of Foxglove Steading of wraiths and ended the wraith siege there, cementing the support of Lady Siobhan's vassal, Lady Hedwyn. But the other family of Clarion, the other vassal family of Clarion Glen, has competing claims to their holding between two brothers, and that is kind of coming to a head as well. And I believe we were going to open tonight with a scene of Sir Kevin and Arkina sparring together, right? Practicing sword work. Is that what we were talking about? And I think to set the scene a little bit, you're in the practice yard right outside Ironborough, or within the courtyard of Ironborough. There's a practice yard, and I think there's sort of like your infantry levy, the Wayward Swords, had kind of like lounging around, watching. They'd been many of them had been practicing also, but I think as you sort of the two of you faced off each other, they sort of like have been slowly giving you their attention, and in particular, Captain Barra. How did we decide to pronounce that? Let's say
Barra.
Let's say Barra.
He's your rival, Arkina. You should know.
I think Barra.
Okay, yeah. So Captain Barra, Arkina's rival, is especially has a keen eye on the two of you. And yeah, I sort of am going to hand this over to the two of you. Like how did this get started? Like, did one of you walk up to the other? Was there a challenge? Was there a threat? Good-natured ribbing.
I feel.
Go for it.
Well, I was just gonna say, I feel like Arkina probably usually trains alone or spars with some no-name members of the levy or the guard or whatever. So I'll actually kind of leave it up to Sir Kevin. If you come up and see Arkina sort of beating the shit out of one of those like sword play dummies, what you would do or what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I think I see a kindred spirit because in the aftermath of the battle with the wraiths, Sir Kevin has been training hard and pushing himself hard and just seemingly focusing on getting better, right? Getting stronger, more aggressive. So I think he'll call to Arkina and say, surely a fellow warrior could put up more of a fight than that poor dummy.
All right. And yeah, come over with my. I'm guessing, you know, I'm probably using like a what's the name for like the training swords? Like they're just like, you know, metal but not
Hmm.
sharp.
Something blunt.
Yeah, something blunt. And I think I just come over with that and sort of do a playful kind of pointing it at you, and I say, "All right, then let's go."
On guard.
Insert us sword fighting here.
Yeah. You know, flinning.
Well,
Right? Or, you know, but
I mean, like, how does it go? Like, are you, Sir Kevin? Are you going all out here? Like, what's the? I'm. Let me put it this way. Like, I'm curious what the vibe is. Like, I know you wanted to like have a moment together. So I'm curious, like what maybe is there? Did you? I guess, Sir Kevin, here, do you feel like you have something to prove here?
Interesting question. I think kind of firstly, my focus is on kind of like testing her, right? Like, you know, pressing the attack in such a way that I like see how she responds to you know, to different tactics, right? And kind of, you know, focusing on putting Arkina through her paces and like studying her as I'm doing it, almost, right? Like it's like, you know, what really makes her tick while she's on the battlefield.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that the impression that you get is, you know, she's very like hyper focused, like almost like kind of not tunnel vision exactly, because I mean she's aware of her surroundings, but it's much more brute strength than any like actual like tactics, I think, right? And I think that she's been able to rely on that for a very long time, of just sort of, you know, being able to kind of brute force her way through things. I think that probably you would realize that it wouldn't be that hard for you to best her, as long as you're thinking a few steps ahead. And I think the reason why that doesn't happen more often is because she's so fierce that people don't have the room to think a few steps ahead.
Right. Yeah, that's literally your power, right? Yeah, when you unleash physical violence, it's especially frightening.
Why is it not frightening to you?
You know, I don't fear death. I think it's he just, you know, he is impetuous, he's impulsive, he doesn't he kind of like thinks his life is a small price to pay. You know, generally, of course, when protecting Lady Siobhan from actual danger, but you know, even in training, he has that, like, you know, headlong attitude. Yeah, I think like as there's like, you know, the back and forth and the, you know, clink of weapons, Sir Kevin will say, so as an outrider, have you ever crossed blades with the dead before?
Yes, but it didn't go well, and I'm glad that we were able to, that I was able to redeem myself at least some. The last time I came across the Wraiths, I lost many men that fought beside me.
Thank the God of Paths, few fell in this last sortie, but I keep asking myself, what does it mean, these Wraiths wearing faces and making their wild claims? I've never heard of them behaving in that way before. Good one, right? Yeah, as I like barely block a blow.
I don't know what it means, but it's not good.
Barra shouts, This isn't practice. This isn't a show. Arkina, I've seen you fight harder against a child. And he's clearly goading you.
And yeah, it works too. I mean, so yeah, I mean, Sir Kevin, you just notice that I just like I'm going it is all power now. And I think again you realize that you could I don't know, it's not win exactly, but you could beat me here, you could best me here. Because I'm almost like now it's tunnel vision, right? Now I'm like, fuck Bera. I'm gonna show him I'm more powerful than he'll ever be. And you could basically just stick out your foot and trip me right now. Like I'm that focused.
Awesome. I think in a moment of magnanimity, Sir Kevin is going to kind of like go for a trip or something, and then like put out a hand and like steady you as you start to fall, and be like, watch your footwork, Arcana.
I've been told that before. Thank you.
Okay. I think Bera sort of snickers at that, and I think that as the rest of the Wayward Sword sort of like take up their start, I guess we got to get back to our practice again. Bera like approaches you, Arcana. As he approaches you, he sort of like gives Sir Kevin like a clap on the shoulder, sort of like congratulatory, and like leans in, Arcana, and quietly says, "You had him beat until you got mad." Temper,
I push him.
Temper, Bellcrown.
I think I push him and I walk away.
Yeah, hold on one second. I want to see something. I want to see something. Yeah, he actually stumbles back when you push him and like swears and looks at you angrily, but nothing really comes of it there. I think as this is kind of like happening, Mark the steward is sort of like ushered into the courtyard through the main gate at Ironborough. And Mark is Lord Reese's steward of Granwyn, right? And he was like just here, and he's back. I think he approaches you, Sir Kevin, and says, Sir Kevin, I must meet with Lady Derek right away. It's absolutely urgent."
Mark, what? Nothing terrible has transpired among my relations, I trust.
No, nothing terrible. But just important news that has to get here. I want to cut now, if you're cool with me hard framing a scene here, and then you can do what you want with it, but just to get some stuff on the table. So Lady Shaban, do you mind saying that you are currently in a meeting with, I've put this person in the NPC tab, Cedric Bloden. The Blodens are a house that is a smaller house in Clarion Glen. They don't have a holding, right? They're not directly vassals in that sense, but they have some power, and they're trying to sort of like, there's a lot of chaos here, right? You know that they're trying to sort of gain power and prominence, and just because people might not think about it, right? Like the mechanical thing they want is for you to give them one of the big holds, right? To become a vassal, right? And to unseat somebody. Yeah. Alexi, go for it with images. I am terrible at finding images. I just find it stressful. But if anyone wants to give NPCs images, please do it. Anyways, so you're meeting with Cedric, who is the son of Lady Megan, who is the sort of the lady of the ruler of the house, and anyone who wants to be in this meeting, with the exception of Sir I guess Vendon, if you want to be here and Lady Siobhan's cool with you being here, you can be here.
Yeah, it's probably whisper in her ear or something.
Yeah. So he's approaching you, and he's making the case. He's like, listen, milady. He doesn't actually know. He does. Your Majesty, he calls you. The wraiths. I don't know what you did in Foxglove Steading, but you cleared them out miraculously. But we have to strike now while things are hot. While they're on their back feet, or they'll just take over again, and it would mean so much, and just to have I'm doing it right. I'm going to take such small troops as I can and try to harry the wraiths, but in the meantime, any help you could give me would be truly welcomed. And I think as he's making that, if either of you want to respond quickly, or have a response to that. You're muted, Josh, if you're trying to.
Yeah, Siobhan, receives Cedric, and she listens, and she, looks him in the eye, and she seems very sympathetic. I just says, Cedric, I understand. Please don't throw your life away. The wraiths will fade in the sun. The important thing is to keep them away from people. Chasing them down is not. It's not worth it, Cedric.
Your Majesty, there are rumors abound that the wraiths have somehow or another. I know it sounds ridiculous. They've organized.
Do they have a location that they have centralized their numbers and their power? Do you know of this?
As of yet, I don't know, but they're more. They seem to have tactics. They don't just swarm, and they're powerful enough as it is. But they're now tactical, and I'm told they have a leader now, some kind of a queen wraith. It's hundreds of years fighting these wraiths. Our people have been, and this is the first I know about it. And he's young, right, and eager, and you can see he's making this case, but he's also got he wants glory, he wants violence, he wants, right. There's a lot of that there too. He's not suggesting any tactics, right? He's just like, let's do it. I think maybe Sir Kevin, that's the moment you arrive with Mark.
Your Majesty, news from the Granwins.
Please come in, and to Cedric, Siobhan says, "I'm sorry, Cedric, but stay here. This shouldn't take long. We'll give you something to bring back to your mother."
But lady, these the Blondwins and the Grandwins have some animosity, I believe. Maybe it'd be better if I took Cedric aside to an antechamber while you speak to Mark.
And I think Cedric says, I bear no ill will in my heart towards the Grandwins. You can't tell if he's sincere or not, right? But he's making that claim if he hears you.
Yeah.
I saw, Josh, you took that skill that you can detect when someone lies.
I do have a skill where I can detect if someone lies that I took.
You took it? Okay, I didn't see that you took that. In that case, he's not. I'll tell you, when he says he has no ill will in his heart, he is not lying. That doesn't mean that Vendon is necessarily wrong, though. Right? That's the. I want to make that clear. but he certainly has nothing personal against the Gremlin, and he
I
has
think
no
that
plans against them.
we'll let Cedric stay in the waiting room.
Of course, Your Majesty. And he says, Your Majesty, very pointedly, while looking at Mark, who says, "Thank you, Lady Derek." Not pointedly, just that's what he calls you, right? Thank you, Lady Derek, for this audience. Are you going to, Vendon? Are you escorting Mark out, or is Mark going to sort of not Mark? Are you escorting Cedric out?
Yeah, I was going to go out with Cedric.
Yeah, sure. So take Cedric out if you want to take him to like an antechamber or something, get him some refreshments, and if you want to have a private conversation, we can do that in a moment. Yeah. So Mark approaches you, sort of gives a bow, not says, "Milady, I have somewhat ill news. Not. Remember when last I spoke, I said that I was concerned that the usurper," and he does call her the usurper, right? The usurper is courting, is trying to decide who to court among the Grenwyn brothers. Well, she, whether her stooge, Lord Mays, I'm not sure, but has sent Lady. Hold on, I have this name written down. I'm just bad at this. Lady Iron Mays, Iron Mays, to visit. You would know, just to sort of give you this information. This information is in the Borrowwood tab here, the Borrowwood tab. It's not. It is not there. So Lady Iron Mays is she's married to Lord. I keep calling her lady. She's not lady. She's Iron Mays. Is married to Lord Trefervellen. Oh no, it is there. And she's recently married into House, I can't remember, Yitzhalm in Borrowwood, and sort of trying to extend the Mays and the usurper's influence into Borrowwood, right? But she's actually been sent out now to the Granwyn keep, to the Granwyn vineyards, to sort of like presumably like case these people and see who should be supported, and perhaps whisper in their ear and see whose support she can get. So there's now, Mark says, there is now the usurper now has an agent acting openly here in Clarion Glen in Cambrica Vineyards. It's very troubling. I thought you would want to know directly.
It is very troubling. Thank you, Mark, for sharing this. I know that it is not easy to make the trip at such a short notice. But I appreciate the information.
I'm loyal to my Lord Reese, of course. You know, this is I tell you this not to betray him, but so that he can have your support, milady.
It seems he will need it with that snake whispering in his ear. And Siobhan stands. She says, "I need my advisors. This is a pressing matter indeed."
Sure. But so you're gonna call the retinue together?
Yeah.
All right. So Vendon, if you want to do, while she was having that conversation with Mark, if you want to just tell me what you're saying to Cedric.
Yeah, just real quick. I think maybe while I'm pouring him some wine, I'll say, my name is Vendon. I have the ear of the Queen, and we are very interested in the Wraiths also, but we need to know if we're going to send our resources against the wraiths, what will you promise us? What will you give us in return to help you with this?
Well, my Lord Chancellor, we obviously don't have very much in the way of resources. I have a small band of soldiers that fights with me. And we have our small keep, which you could use as a base of operations. Of course, full support for Queen Siobhan over the hateful usurper. And I mean, you can tell you're good at this, right? He's being political here, right? And I think he's doing it poorly, right? Meaning, like, his mother has this is his thing, but his mother has sort of has taught him that if he's going to ask Lady Siobhan for help, that this is the kind of thing he needs to say.
Right.
He's not lying to you, but also, like, he's not, like, deeply committed to the cause either. And that's, like, just very obvious. He's this kid who wants to fight a bunch of wraiths, and he thinks this will get him what he wants,
Right. Well, return to your mother and let her know that we may come to help your family and your house, but we will expect much in return.
Of course, my Lord Chancellor. Of course. And so the lady, the Queen will not want to see me again. I can await your message at home, or should I wait here for her answer?
Drink your wine, and I see that I'm being summoned back into court. We will let you know momentarily.
Thank you, my Lord Chancellor. Thank you. And yeah, I think so your retinue is gathered. Does Barra count as one of your advisors? I know he's sometimes been at these meetings, but I feel like he's kind of borderline.
He's borderline. He can be there if he wants.
Oh, he wants to be there.
Okay.
He whenever he can get your ear, he will try to get it.
Of course. He might have. He came along when he saw the commotion.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, you're in charge of this meeting.
Yeah. So Siobhan calls everyone to the room. Siobhan sits everyone down and says, "Well, as Mark has informed us, there is an agent of the usurper, Iron Maze, who is scouting the Granwyns, trying to see which one to throw their weight behind. This is unacceptable. The Granwyns are vassals of mine. The Granwyns have been loyal to my family for generations. Not the usurper's family, my family. We must drive this meddler out. And we must resecure our influence over the Granwyns, remind them exactly who it is that they swear their allegiance to. Now, there are two of them, and they're fighting, obviously. So then that presents its own qualms. So here is my question to you all. Siobhan asks. Siobhan says, "The Granwyns, they're at each other's throats. Perhaps they can be persuaded to calm down, but right now, as things stand today, they are at each other's throats, and that is not good. These squabbling lordlings in my domain, that conflict is not healthy. It is a place where the usurper can drive in. So I need either one of them to stop fighting, or one of them to win, and the winner to be on my side. Do we have any plans?"
And it is your intention to support the older brother, Rise. Is that right? Is
My
that Mark
uncles are
guy still here, or did
twins.
he go? Oh, okay, the twins, yeah.
My uncles are twins.
Minutes older.
I think that Mark...
They both claim to be the elder twin by minutes.
Yeah.
They both claim to be the elder by minutes. I think that Mark probably has been, has been allowed to return to the Granwyn estate.
Mhm.
Yes, I remember the fights well at every banquet when they got deep enough in their cups. The question of which was born first and why mother would have told each of them they were the firstborn.
And Alexi, how are you linked together with the Granwyns? Remind me.
Yeah, Sir Kevin Grist is the bastard son, though the acknowledged bastard son of their departed older brother, former Lord Roger Granwyn. That's what I've decided.
Okay. And you are scorned by the other Granwyns, or are you accepted or
Tolerated?
Okay.
Right. Like I've been given a place to try and earn a name for myself. You know what? Sir Kevin will say a little bit of this out loud. He'll say, Lord Rodri can hold a grudge, but he is a fair-minded man. Ultimately, it was he who convinced my late Lord Father to acknowledge me when I arrived at court and asked for a place, not a high one, but a lowly one, as his natural son. And Lord Riss is a man of high temper and hot blood, but can be generous. It was he who acknowledged my service and knighted me on the battlefield. I do not wish to see either of them destroyed or cast down. I hope there can be a way for both of them to come and join your cause, my lady.
We cannot allow this agent of the usurper to get into our backyard so close to you, my liege. Drastic measures may be required. I think I see an opportunity for us. Kill two birds with one stone. If perhaps whichever one of the brothers you decide doesn't deserve to rule the province, perhaps we could fabricate or discover some link between them and the usurper's agent, and publicly, expose them as traitors, and it'll be up to you to what their fate will be.
What is a great accusation to I hope that we will not have to resort to such practices, Vendon, as to smear a man and a potentially innocent man as a traitor. But if the Granwyns intend to betray me, of course they will get what is coming to them. Let's see if that is the case.
Surely we can oust the usurper's cat's paw without branding any of your vassals as disloyal, my lady.
Well, of course.
Just to quickly jump in here, if you're committed to this as the sortie, right, you should have this conversation, but it can be it doesn't have to be a conversation that takes place in one scene, right? You can do recon, right? You can sort of, this can take place over a couple days or a week or whatever, as you're sort of like gathering information or whatever and figuring out what to do, right? You don't have to do that, right? You can feel free to just sort of like make a plan and dive in, but I do want to let you know, you do have that option. You don't have to feel like you come out of this scene with like your plan and then we make the engagement roll right away, unless that's what you want to do.
It sounds kind of like we're trying to establish the end goal, though, so maybe we need to at least have that much going in. Like, what are we trying to do? So Vendon has his ideas and maybe the rest don't agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think our Kina like totally like perked up when you said drastic measures, and then when you started getting into all this other stuff, it was just like filing her nails. But she puts in her support with Sir Kevin that, as much as she likes to go and kill a motherfucker, if we can kind of get through this without hurting anybody that doesn't need to be hurt. She does ask who the agent is. I don't think anyone's actually said it. I don't know. I don't think my point is I don't think she knows that it's a maze.
Yeah. Siobhan says the agent is Iron Maze, the bride of an Eastmouth, I believe. An Istlum, the bride of Lord Istlum in Boralwood.
I take back what I said about not killing.
Yeah, Arcana, like, what do you know about Iron Maze? All of the information that exists about her in our game is in the character keeper. So anything beyond that, you are free to invent.
Yeah. Is this in the Boralwood tab or in the NPCs?
In the NPCs tab, yeah. And she's a May's cousin, right? She's not.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she's better than some. She makes a big show of philanthropy and charity work, and she's a very good talker, but I always felt as a ward of the maze, I never felt like I was quite treated the same as the others, and that was by her as much as anyone else.
The woman is a snake. She is married into the Islam family as a way to gain influence for her family, the Mays, that are traitors. And it would be foolish to believe that she's here for any other reason other than to gain even more influence amongst your own vassals, my lord, my lady. Your vassals are in conflict with each other. It's only a matter of time before one of them sides with the usurper as a way to gain control of their ancestral home.
Siobhan, she says, Venton, if I didn't know better, I would think you almost wanted there to be blood spilt between my subjects. Please, let's not catastrophize. If things go wrong, they go wrong. But we have no indication that is the case. For all we know, Reese and Rodri will greet us as heroes and as friends, and we'll go on this day, and we'll kick out this interloper. And Alwina Derek will have no foothold in this land after all. But first, we have to visit the Granwins and actually see what is happening, not just through Mark's word or through a messenger's words.
I would embrace the opportunity to accompany you to Camberca Vineyards, my lady, and perhaps I would be able to learn from my old friends how best to reconcile my uncles and expose the perfidy of this usurper agent.
So I just want to jump in with a question here in terms of like thinking through how you're talking about this with the objective of the sortie. So are you trying to like, there's sort of like there's like a push and pull here, right? There's on the one hand, you want to gain status with the Granwins, right? Which is complicated because they're divided. But it also sounds kind of like you want to weaken the usurpers hold there, right? Which are kind of, it's 6 and 1/2 dozen another in a certain sense, right? But just mechanically, the difference between, I get to choose which objective it is, but I want to clarify for you, right? So the mechanically, right, what you end up doing is sort of like getting +1 or 2, gaining stats is +1 or 2 stats with the target faction, versus creating an opportunity to pursue a holding or canceling a faction clock.
Probably say it was the gain status, sounds like to me.
Right.
But we have to kind of choose which one we're going with, or somehow bring them together.
I'm giving you a choice. I'm giving you a choice. I could choose. What I'll say is that the difference is that if you cancel it, canceling the faction clock will mean that, like, right, we've got this clock ticking here, right? Where is it? Usurper picks a grand win, right? And no matter how high your status is with like a grand win overall, right? If the usurper successfully picks a grand win, and you don't, right? Then that's going to be right. That grand win is going to fall in with the usurper, right? Whereas weakening a faction here will basically erase that clock and then sort of set you up to try to nudge the grand wins all the way into your camp however you want, and that could be through another sortie or through a long-term project, or right. But the usurper proactively acting on them would stop.
Okay.
Right? That, at least for the time being.
I like that better.
Yeah, that seems like what we are doing. Like, this is a weakened faction move then.
Cool. Okay, so we'll set so that will be your goal. Yeah, I mean, it basically sounds like you want to weaken the faction by somehow or another removing Lady Irid Maze from the situation. All right, so cool. So you have a sortie, you have an objective. Now, like, how do you want to do it? And that's, you can decide that you can do some recon, or you can just sort of decide based on what you already know. And what I'll say in terms of recon is, this is going to be all based in the fiction, but like at a certain point, if you just like keep on poking at it, there will be some clocks that start to tick.
Yes.
Right. But at the moment, she just got there. You've got a little bit of breathing space.
It sounded like Josh was suggesting like we would travel to their court. That sounds pretty cool. Having some heated chamber conversation kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, you could just, if you just want to do that, if you just want to like dive in, right, and have this be a like a diplomatic sortie, right, where the social connection, like, you don't need a special social connection, right? You are their liege. You can say, "I am coming to visit you," right? Like, that's the social connection is your status.
Behold the honor of my presence.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. You
The
can just
one thing I'd love
dive
to
into that if you want.
The one thing I might want to do first is send a letter to a contact of mine, because I have a contact named Maisie who's a servant, and I think it's pretty plausible that she's at Cambrica Vineyards, right? If she's someone I know from before my knighthood, right? From when I was kind of more lowly and aiming to prove myself, right? This bastard hanging around the court. So I wonder if she's there, and might be someone I could ask to keep an ear to the ground, tell us, what the like rumors at the vineyard are.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you could write her a letter just to let you know you're going. Like, that's nothing mechanical, right? That's just, you're just telling her, hey, we're going to be there soon. If you want to, like, in advance of your stay, try and get some intelligence from her.
Yeah.
Right. I think,
getting intelligence from her is absolutely part of the hope.
Right. And yeah, so I think like before you do anything, right, like she'll give you sort of like the basic lay of the land, right, without like any kind of a roll, really. But I guess you mostly know that from Mark already. So the question is, like, if you want to try to convince her to do some snooping, right, that's going to be a roll. And I think that's probably that's probably going to be it's a fortune roll, right? There's no risk here for you.
Yeah.
At least unless you want to like really try to push her to like do something she shouldn't. But if it's just like a little extra listening around or whatever, it's probably either a consort or sway fortune roll.
Yeah.
Either of which you're very good at.
Yeah. Well, if I remember Maisie from back in the day, she never needed that much pushing to do any snooping around, to be honest.
Sure.
But I'm happy to make the fortune roll and see if we can learn anything.
Yeah, and this is just like how good is the information you get, right?
Yeah. So what do I do for that?
So that's it's 2d6. Take the lowest.
Great. So I just do a disadvantaged roll on consort or sway. And there's no what's this called?
Consequence?
there's no consequence, right? It's just how good is the information. There's no risk here.
So I'd love to kind of ask her for old time's sake to see what she can learn at the Vineyard, especially about this newcomer and her schemes. Okay, that's a 2.
Okay, so you don't get very much. I think
just some inconsequential rumor.
Well, no, you get something, right? This is not a failure, right? It's just you don't get very much. I think I think I think what you kind of like pick apart is that the thing that she's really trying to. She hasn't focused her energy on any particular brother yet, but what she's kind of doing is I take that. What she's kind of doing is trying to sort out which one of them likes you the least, likes Siobhan the least. And she was just eavesdropping at a meal, and she was like dropping disparaging comments about her, right? Et cetera, and listening very carefully to how the two brothers responded. Maisie couldn't pick up couldn't pick up from what they were saying, like if either one of them had tipped their hand. But that's really, she's trying to figure out if one of them if either of them have sort of a preference or a feeling that she can manipulate.
I will convey this information to the retinue.
I have a similar sort of gather information thing I was going to do.
Absolutely.
Using my spies, the Wraith Touched, I was going to send them out, and maybe there's some montage scenes of as we travel that way. I don't know, how is it, days, hours, weeks? About how long do you think it takes?
I think it's probably a couple days. Would be my guess. It's if you look at that map of Clarion Glen, right? It's like it's in Clarion Glen. Like over near the border here, but not like super far.
Okay. So as we're traveling, maybe some of these Wraith Touch people, people don't usually notice. You see me kind of talking to them as we're riding along, stopping at inns and stuff, and I'm trying to find out about Lady.
You went mute there.
Thanks. What I'm trying to find out is about Lady Erin. What's her name?
Maze. Her name is Maze.
Yeah. Okay. What's she up to? If there's one of the brothers that she's working on more than the other, and if I roll especially well, maybe get some actual physical evidence of her treachery.
Yeah, sure. What I'll say is just like thinking in terms of treachery, right? Within Clarion Glen, there can be treachery against Lady Siobhan Derek, right? But like you, how do I say this? Like she's not your vassal, right? And she is on the other side, and so like you want to think about like the politics of like what things look like to whom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone here knows that she's on the other side, right? Exposing her as a traitor, is like, well, yeah.
Okay,
so
well, let's
make that clear.
Maybe start with step one. Is she having secret meetings in the middle of the night with anyone in particular?
Absolutely.
And if there's any physical evidence of any of that, that would be my dream thing to get. I do have this ability called Eminence. If I have a levy of courtiers or spies, I get +1 effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you have this tier 1
levy.
levy, right? And then you get plus. I don't know what effect really means here, because there's not an action roll here, but we'll count it as like +1. So
Okay.
we're gonna roll with their quality.
Okay.
So you get 2 dice, and this is again, I would say, a fortune roll. Like, they're pretty good at what they do.
Mhm.
There's not, like, so long as you're not like really pushing them to like +1 result level. Okay, we can do it that way. That makes sense. Anyways, yeah. So go ahead and so roll 1 die, and you'll get
One.
+1 result level. Is how this is going to work.
Okay. Here we go. I got a 3.
A 3. So that bumps up to you get like a reasonable amount of information.
Okay.
You not like, it's not crazy, but and I so here's the information. You tell me how they got it. Okay. The thing you discover is that she's not just talking to the Granwins. She's also been talking to Lady Megan.
That's the Blodens.
The Blodens.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the idea is that, right, it's not that serious, but it's an option she's trying to explore. If the Granwins don't fall in with her, maybe, right, if the usurper can gain enough power to unseat the Granwins and give the holding to the Blodens.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's very useful.
That's like an additional. So it's not exactly what you were looking. So how do you think they discovered that?
I'm picturing, like, my little birds are, I'm picturing sort of a half-ruined tower in the castle, the Granwin Tower, the castle, and they have like climbed up to a window, and they're peering down, and they hear them, whispering to each other, Lady Erin and whoever the Blodens agent might be. They get that back to me, and I'll pass it on to Lady Shaban, and I'll say, see, the plot thickens. It's not only the Granwins that she's trying to bend the ear of, it's also the Blodens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have no idea how receptive the Blodens have been to this, right? But you know that she's reached out. Okay. Anyone else have any kind of recon or downtime recon they want to do? All right, so let's roll. Let us then roll our engagement roll. So who wants to roll the dice? Sir Kevin, since this is your family.
Go for it.
Yeah, sure thing.
So
what are we rolling with?
So you start with 1 die for sheer luck. And +1 for each major advantage. So let's start with major advantages. A particularly bold or daring approach. Is this particularly bold or daring? I would say no.
No, we're going in to do some diplomacy in kind of a normal way.
Do you have help for friends or contacts? I would say absolutely. Maisie helped you out, and you've got Mark in the house. You've got Mark there in the house too. You've definitely got people inside who can help you out. So that's +1. Are you hitting the target where they are weakest? I mean, I'm going to say a social. It's the social connection is your power. Which I don't think is where they're weakest, really, right? That the fact that they are committed to you as a liege lord nominally is not their weakness necessarily. Are you following up on preparations or leverage? I will say yes. Is the target a lower tier? The target is not a lower tier, because the target is, of course, the usurper, right? Who is tier 4, much higher tier than you. So no. Now we lose a die for disadvantages. Any specific consequences? No. Is it an overly complex plan or contingent on many factors? No. Very straightforward. Is there interference from enemies or rivals?
Sort of, though. In some ways, that's baked in because our target is the people doing the interfering.
Right. I'm not gonna count like the simple fact that you're going up against your overall rival. But hold on, let me just take a quick look here at the various different people who don't like you.
I know the Wraith Queen doesn't like us.
No, she does not. I'm curious, Vendon, who is this courtier who doesn't like you? Who is Sionag?
Oh, maybe it's like maybe it used to be a friend of Shaban, and they found out something about me, and I talked trash about them to Shaban, and Shaban had them exiled. So maybe they want vengeance against me, and they know something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and she was exiled to Borrelwood and serves in the house of I can't pronounce Yitzulm.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think you do have a rival acting against you here. So that's -1. You're down to 2. And then target is prepared for or defending against this approach. I mean, in that this is exactly what you would be expected to do. I think we kind of have to say yes. And the target is a higher tier. We're going to keep you at 1. I think we'll forget about the rival interference. That's a very minor thing compared to the rest of the stuff here. So you have a die.
All right.
Sure.
All right, we're gonna roll this die to see how we're doing as we turn up for our diplomatic sortie. It's a 3.
Okay, so you are in a desperate position when the action starts. Why don't we take our first break now? Come back at 27 past the hour, and we'll dive into the action here.
Sweet.
All right, just give Alexi one more minute. So since you ended up with in a desperate position, I'm going to hard frame this first scene, and we'll sort of see how things spin out from there. But also, just like so you know, this doesn't have to play out in chronological sequence. Obviously, you can do flashbacks. That's the thing that you can just do in this game. But in addition to that, like you're visiting, you're there for a few days. So if you have, we're going to hard frame this first scene where you're in a desperate position, and it will sort of frame the rest of the sortie. But like, if you want to, once this is over, jump to the next day. You say, I want to set up a situation where I'm talking to these to so and so, etc. Like, you can do that, right? Like, there's a lot of elasticity in the timing here, and so like be just use that if you want to. Right. This is not, we're not like heisting through a castle where this is a social visit. It could be a week. Right. And yeah, so I think you arrive at the vineyards, and you ride, you sort of, you ride through the vineyards, and you make it up to the manor house. It's still spring. So it's just like a bit before the grapes are, I think, a summer crop. Am I wrong about they're an autumn crop? They're a later crop. They're not blooming now. They're not a spring crop. But you could see the green vines, like, crawling on the trellises, as you make your way through the vineyards and up. This is not a fortified keep or castle. It's a manor house. There's like a low wall around it, and you can see sort of like there's some towers, there's like some positions where you could see archers, perhaps with silver tip bows, right, to sort of drive away wraiths. But if Arkina, if you're starting to think about how you might have to take this place by force if this visit doesn't go well, like, you're noticing that it's not going to be a super challenging place for you to overrun. And you arrive to the manor house, and you're greeted by Mark, the steward, who, acts as if he hasn't seen you in months, and is so graceful, and takes you to your rooms to really, I think, and Siobhan, this is when you notice that something isn't quite right. Because there's sort of the royal guest suite, you might call it, even though it's not formally called that, right? The place where pride of place, where of course their liege lord would be placed along with her retinue. And Mark apologizes most profusely, and giving you sort of like as much side eye as he can to sort of like show this is how bad things have gotten in the brief time since he spoke to you. That unfortunately Lady Iron Maze was already in the suite, and it was just, she'd been there for a little bit. It was just too hard to ask her to move her things, and we hope Milady will forgive us if we place you and your retinue in a few rooms along in the guest wing. Deeply sorry. And that already feels off to you, right? Like, this is a it's one way to do it, Arkina. And you take your things are brought to your rooms. I think my guess is that Arkina. Well, we'll come back to Sir Kevin in a second. But my guess is that Arkina and Vendon, at the very least, are asked to share a room. Or a small little, it's maybe a suite with like a shared sort of sitting room and two small bed chambers off it. And Lady Siobhan, of course, has her own large set of chambers. Sir Kevin, do you have your own room here still?
Fascinating question. I assume not. Because I assume that for much of my time here, I was in whatever the barracks was, right? That I was, living among the other kind of, soldiery.
Yeah, so I think it's a funny thing, Sir Kevin. You're not given a guest room,
Hmm.
and I think Mark it doesn't tell you this right away, but like as the other people are sort of assigned places to stay, and you're sort of just like left there holding Lady Siobhan's bags, right, or having just dropped them in her rooms, and like you're looking at Mark empty-handed. He says, "Oh, your uncles presumed that you would that as a soldier you'd prefer to stay in the barracks." And you're not sure if it's a snub or just like, family being weird, taking things for granted.
Right.
So that's, you've been tipped off that there's your relative status here is not what it should be. And there is and you have time to freshen up, and then there's sort of a large welcoming banquet for the arrival of Lady Derek, of course, and there's a feast, and we're not actually going to play out the feast. I think you see again that both both Granwyn brothers are clearly taken with Lady Mays. With she's not Lady. I keep on doing with Iron. Clearly taken with her. You are placed, Lady Siobhan, of course, in the seat of honor. Vendon is given a seat at the seat with the lords. I think Arkina and Sir Kevin are probably set to eat with sort of like the soldiers and members of the household, unless Sir Kevin, I will say, you can like assert your right to sort of sit among the Granwyns. But if you're sitting as a member of Lady Siobhan's household, right, you're again being sort of like siphoned off to this space.
Yeah. I feel like I need to get closer to my uncles, to to the family, right, in order to gauge what's going on with them. So I'm going to sort of and take a seat at the high table as a
yeah. So
know,
one of the servants says, "Oh, Sir Kevin, I'm sorry. I just assumed you would prefer to sit with the rest of your sort of, the other soldiers of Lady Derek's house." And they set a seat for you sort of at the end of the high table, right?
Right. The corner.
Right. And they. The banquet happens, and then you can. And I think we sort of we're gonna open on a scene of a smaller gathering, right? Still a fair number of people. Lady Iron, the two Granwyn brothers, your entire retinue. I would add also Vendon's rival. What's her name? Seonag is there. Maisie is probably serving drinks. And this is sort of like post dinner drinks. There's maybe a small dessert table in like a in not in the big banquet hall, but in a sort of side, maybe a games room. There's maybe a billiards table there, billiards, or a little anachronism, but cards. People can play cards if they want, and it's a place for you all to sort of relax and interact and talk to each other and get to know each other. And I think the right away, as this Lady Siobhan, it's clear that the Granwyn brothers are trying to avoid you. You'll approach them, and or maybe you don't approach them. I don't know. But like they keep on sort of positioning themselves on opposite sides of the room to you. They've been polite. You spoke at the banquet. This is not like, but they're trying they're trying to avoid you. And lady, and I do, I know this is, I call this usually in a desperate situation, I would be like hard framing up a problem, but I think the problem is clear. And I'm going to let you sort of decide how you want to approach it. At this kind of, low key, post banquet reception. And I'm gonna throw that to you, Lady Siobhan.
Yeah, it is. Lady Siobhan is not enjoying what she is seeing at the vineyard. It's worse than she thought. And I think that, well, okay. So I think that what Lady Siobhan wants to do is she wants to get Iron out of the room for a little bit, because get Iron out of here. I think Iron has been around, has been with the party a lot for the past day or whatever of entertainment. I think that Siobhan wants to get her out of here. She wants the Grandwins on their own. Yes, too many irons in the fire. This nothing but bad news. Clearly, this lady has woven her evil spell on my good vassals. Has taken the good sweets. Got to get her out of here. We need her out of sight, out of mind, and we need Siobhan to work her magic.
Maybe I pick up. I catch your eye, and I say, I show you a vial, and I say, would you like me to slip this into her wine? She'll have to go to the privy shortly thereafter.
Siobhan does. Siobhan says, well, I'm sure it won't hurt her too badly. And she gives a little wink and a little nod.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're clicking off your subterfuge supplies here?
Yeah.
Have this
I'll
poison?
mark off it. Yeah.
Or this
Emetic?
yeah.
Is that what? Yeah.
Mild poison.
Sure. It has medicinal value.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking prowl, maybe.
Well, so I mean, tell me, you could definitely prowl. What would that look like?
I think maybe some of the serving people are maybe my agents. So maybe I kind of come by them as they're coming out of the kitchens, and I put some drops into her cup, give them a wink. Or would that be using my agents rather than my own skills?
I think that's either an action roll with the quality of your spies, which you could definitely do.
Sure.
Right? That would be one die, but with increased effect.
Sure.
Right. So that would probably be, and it's desperate, right? Like their eyes are open. So that would be like.
How about if I forget about my agents. I approach one of the servants serving the wine, and they have goblets of wine on, and I'm thinking it through as I say it.
Well, the question is, how do you make sure she takes the goblet?
Make sure she takes the right. Yeah, she takes the wine. I don't want everybody to get sick. Is it possible to just hide in shadows and you
can totally try to sneak up behind her. You could start a conversation with her and try look over there.
Sure.
You could, and that would definitely just be a straight prowl roll.
Right.
And I would say, I mean, look, it's hard to do. You're like in a public place. You're surrounded by people. You would have to be super sneaky. That's probably, it's certainly desperate.
Mm-hmm.
But truthfully, if you succeed, it's gonna basically work, right?
Yeah.
So effect is standard. If you can manage to pull off this desperate thing,
Yeah, I'll do it.
She'll drink the. She'll drink. So yeah. So how do you approach her to talk to her?
Is anybody interested in being the distraction by talking to her? Maybe.
Yeah, you can
Maybe
definitely
an
get some
assist
help. You
guy?
can definitely get some help that way.
I think I would be the obvious one
Yeah.
there. I think that I would be pretty distracting to
Yeah,
she's to Iron Maze.
Whereas
Yeah.
I'm like watching Arkina warily in case she just like up and stabs this lady.
Sure. So Arkina, what do you say to her? And take off that stress too. But what do you
Yeah.
say to her?
Gosh. I think I'm getting more conspicuous in like how much I'm staring daggers at her. And like trying to like keep her like eye contact, and if she makes eye contact with me for like even a second, I just kind of go over and I just say, so she's not a lady, so I wouldn't say Lady Maze. Is there any kind of like honorific?
I think you could call her I call her lady. It's fine. She's not formally the lady of the
Right.
maze court, but she's
Mhm.
she's certainly married to a lord, and she's a noble lady, so we can go with that.
Okay. Lady Iron, it's been a long time.
Remind me, please.
Arkina Bellcrown.
Oh, you were my cousin's ward, right?
Something like that, yeah.
And
We've met a few times.
mhm. Well. What brings you here? I want to have this conversation, but I also want to see how the
Yeah.
roll goes. So we'll cut back to this in a second, and we'll let this play out before, like, play into the results of the roll. Yeah. So you've got 2 dice, unless you want to take the third. Do you want to use that for effect or
Let's use it as an extra die if I can.
Got it. So you have 3 dice, desperate standard. Do you want to push yourself? Do you want to take a devil's bargain?
Nah, let's go with just the 3 dice.
Sure.
All right, here we go. Critical.
That is a critical. All right. So so she tell me what how you managed to get. She's holding her cup of wine. She's talking to Arkina, and you can see like Arkina. She knows exactly who the hell you are, and you have her full attention. You're not quite sure like why there's this much animosity in her face towards you, though. And Vendon, describe to me how you slip this emetic into her drink.
Maybe I just happen to be walking by behind, and I reach around, and she has this smug look in her face as she's looking at Arkina, and I a couple drops, slink into this cup, and she takes a drink right after.
Yeah, so
And
she
I
takes
just
a
keep
sip.
walking.
At first, nothing happens, right? And she says to Arkina, and how are you dressed, Arkina?
That's a great question. I mean, I feel like
I would actually love
Arkina,
to hear how all these people are dressed for this party, but that's
I think that Arkina would have found a way to like ask Lady Siobhan like how she's supposed to dress for this, because she mostly only dresses like a soldier, I mean, not like in armor, but like well, maybe like leather armor and
I mean, I'm sure there's Derek livery, like soldier's livery, that you could be wearing.
Yeah,
also,
I think
what you
that's
wanted to be
probably what it
wearing.
would be, Yeah.
Like a dress uniform of some kind, or
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. That makes sense.
Yeah. So she looks at you, right, and she looks at the golden oak, right, sort of pin on your lapel. I see you're working for the pretender, the would-be usurpers. Army now.
You have some nerve to call my lady the usurper.
She shakes her head. I don't know what my cousin did to you to push you here into the arms of that one. But and then like as she starts to, you see like her face gets kind of like white, like she pales, and she's dark skinned, kind of like wavy dark red hair, and she pales a little bit, and she says, I'm sorry, I have to. I have to go. And she like rushes out of the room, and like her footsteps are loud on the are loud on the floor. And I think it can't be that bad. I think she sort of like stops for a second to like lean on the doorway before she gets up. She's doing that walk that you do, sort of like legs close together, internal muscles clenched. Everyone can see what's happening here, and it's just deeply embarrassing for her, right? This is what your crit gets you, right? It's not that she just quietly leaves, but like she makes a scene.
Oh no, don't go. I hope you're okay.
Yeah. And yeah. So hold on, I'm gonna stick a new clock here. And we're gonna call it and without the crit, this wouldn't have gotten you any ticks on this clock, right? But the crit gets you an extra tick here, which is Iron Maze is driven home. Right, this is a clock for the whole mission. It's a 6 clock, and that got you 1 tick on it, as opposed to 0, right? Because that was just otherwise just sort of like set you up for the thing you really want to do. But yeah, and now like everyone's whispering. You can hear you're standing there, Arkina, with your hand kind of holding your drink, and you're like, oh my, well, everyone's sort of staring at where she was and at you. But
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say I'm trying not to look pleased, and I think I actually, if I can, I actually want to excuse myself under the guise of making sure she's okay, and I would like to bar her in whatever room she's in.
All right, so let's come back to that.
Sure, yeah, we can do that. Yeah,
come back to that in a minute. We'll see. I want to see a little bit how this scene plays out. You may not, sort of. Well, we can come to that. Sir Kevin. So you see your uncles like doing this very polite dance, right? Of like whenever Lady Shaban is in one part of the room, they find themselves in another.
But they're willing to be near each other despite their dispute.
Yeah, I mean they live together.
Yeah,
you kind of have to, they're, and it also seems, for better or for worse, at least at this moment, like they're very much they're in cahoots with Lady Maze for sure, and to some extent.
Right.
Even if she hasn't won them over entirely. I'm curious if you have a way you want to play that.
I think I want to approach them, right? I will do a kind of respectful bow, kind of aimed right in between them, so such that it can apply to either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. And they nod. Young Kevin, I see you've come back to the. This is Rodri. I take it back. This is Rees.
Okay.
And he says in a loud voice, right, like sloshing his glass. He says, young Kevin, and he's a little drunk. Not like a lot drunk. He's a little drunk. Young Kevin, I see you've come back to the family mats.
I'm glad you're enjoying the feast, Lord Uncle.
Of course. It was a glorious feast. Rodri's always trying to talk me into a game of cards at these things, but I tell him no. He beats the pants off me every time. And Rodri chuckles and says, "Yes, well, we've been playing for too long. I need new competitors."
I had heard those competitions had grown more fierce of late, and yet the two of you seem as thick as thieves at this moment. Have you resolved your differences? I'm overjoyed if that's the case.
Lord Rees, I think, puts his arm around Rodri and says, "Differences? We've never had any differences." And you can see Rodri sort of like shrinking away from that arm. and kind of like giving you that glare about like these are not things we talk about in public places.
Mm. Yeah. I think I'll say I don't know. What's my next move on this?
Well, what's your goal here? What do you want to get out of them? Like, or do you want to talk them into coming to talk to Lady Shaban? Do you want to find out information?
I think there's any number of things I could try and get out of them to satisfy my own curiosity about my family. But
Mhm.
I am the devoted servant of the claimant. So I need to pave the way for her to bring these erring vassals in line. So I think I'll say, Uncle Rodri, the best hand at cards I have met in my admittedly short life is Lady Siobhan Derrick herself. I'm sure she would be honored to match wits with you across the table if you're so inclined.
He frowns. He says, "This is news to me, but I think you have to convince him, right? And I think he if he were a different person, you would have a better sense of exactly what it is that's sort of like making him reticent to sit at the table with her.
Right.
But that's he's not that guy, right? He keeps his cards close to his chest in both in actual cards and also in life. And you know him pretty well, is my guess. You grew up around him, right? And you can see he's upset.
Yeah.
And avoiding, but other people might not see that on his face. And so, yeah, you definitely, he doesn't give you a reason, but he says, I would, no matter how good she may be, I think I probably have to say no.
I'll try to cajole him, right? I'll say,
you can.
Yeah,
exactly.
Reportedly, she ran the tables at Wyburn University in the day. Perhaps those young whippersnappers can't hold a candle to a card. I don't want to say card shark because that sounds bad. A player of your caliber. But there's really only one way to tell, and I for one would be honored to see the event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what are you rolling here?
Ah, boy. I mean, it sounds like consort, which again I have no dots in.
Yep, that is true. Well, but you have lots of ways to get some dice. So let's start with: is there anyone sort of trying to help him out here? And that's really Vended and Lady Siobhan, because Arkina has kind of followed Lady Iron out.
Yeah, Siobhan can help. Is there? I don't know. How would Siobhan be helping in this?
You could walk over to a card table and sit down, and start doing cool things with the cards.
Yeah, I mean, Siobhan is I think gonna just sort of back up.
Well, is Sir Kevin telling the truth first? Let's start with that. Are you good at cards?
Yeah. Kevin is good at cards.
Is Lady Siobhan good at cards?
Is Siobhan good at cards? I think Siobhan is, decent at cards.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I think that Siobhan will
being relatively sincere, but he might have an inflated sense of Lady Siobhan's competence here.
I think Siobhan is going to join Kevin at the card table.
Yeah, you could walk up to the two of them. You could even say something. You could see them sort of like they were caught up in this conversation with Kevin, or they would have moved away. But because but you could definitely approach them and say something. That would sort of like help too, if you think that's more. You just challenge him, right? That would prick his pride.
Wait, oh shoot, actually, hang on a second. I take +1d when attempting to go to target into a duel. Does a duel of cards count on this front?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay, fair enough. I wasn't even angling for that. I just
Yeah, I think
noticed that.
if you were the person to play, I would say maybe yes, but no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Totally fair. Just figured I should check if I got that.
It was a good thought.
Cool. So, Lady Siobhan, you're up to kind of to back me up by kind of appearing as I'm working on cajoling Lord Rodri.
Yeah, Siobhan shows up to Lord Rodri. Are Reese and Rodri are both at the table, right?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't necessarily have them at the card table. We could definitely put them sitting at a card table. That's fine.
And Siobhan sits and says, "Oh, my lords, it seems like I haven't seen you this whole weekend." And she has a broad smile. And I think really she's just trying to sort of draw a little bit of heat off of Kevin.
Sure. So, but Kevin is in the middle of like taking an action here, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that we like get that in.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
I'm just trying to give him the die here. I don't know the best
absolutely.
way to give it.
I think that's great. He gets the die for sure. They like Rodri sees you there sitting down at the table, and you know is looking at Kevin, and it's like, oh well, she does want to play. Maybe she is good. And so that's one die, Kevin. Would you like to push yourself or take a devil's bargain?
Yeah. What sort of a devil's bargain do you have on offer?
I think that by trying to get Siobhan to play cards with Rodri, Reese is pissed off.
I am not here to put my finger on the scale. My aim is to bring kind of both uncles along. So I would push myself rather than take that devil's bargain.
All right, 2 stress, push yourself. Yep. You've got stress. 2 dice, and this is I think after that that crit, this is you've and this is you're talking to your uncles, right? This is not a desperate situation now. This is risky. Excuse me, standard effect. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like standard effect is make the card game happen, get them to actually exchange some words with Lady Siobhan. Yeah, and I think you can also like this could be a setup action for Lady Siobhan. Oh, okay, right? Yeah. Like I think that's like a reasonable thing here, right? That lady, you're getting them to the table, some cards. Rodri's getting at least if Lady Siobhan tries to sort of like get information to talk to Rodri, right? This could be a setup action for that. Nice. Yeah. I want to help to set this up. I'll like, you know, summon Maisie and like refill you know, my uncle's drinks as like a gesture of conviviality here too. Shall I go ahead and roll with the 2 dice I've got? Sure, go for it. All right. One of them's a 6. Amazing. So you succeed. I think Rodri sort of like grunts, and he's not smiling exactly, but he's like, "Well, my lady, if you're as good as my nephew says, then I suppose it must be. You know, I suppose we must play." And we don't have to zero in on like what the actual game is here, but if you have a pitch you want to make to him, right? He's like open to that conversation now.
Yeah. So Siobhan is going to pitch him over this game of cards
Hmm.
on a preliminary plan, and I think that the preliminary plan that Siobhan pitches him is she says, and throughout this they're drinking. It's very atmospheric, but the crux of the conversation is Siobhan says, well, Rodri. The problem here, when I look when I look at the vineyards, the problem that I see here is instability, and that doesn't need to be here, because you and your brother have many things in common, and the one thing that is a conflict for you is that you just don't have enough room. And what if I told you that I could get you more room?
And I think what Rodri says is, the problem, milady, isn't room. The problem, there is more than enough space for the both of us. And Rees sort of like almost like hugs him there before taking another sip of his drink. Right, we fit just fine. Right. I love my brother dearly.
Siobhan shakes her head. She says, "Gentlemen, look at me. We're all friends here. We all grew up together in Clarion Glen. We all know these fields. And what I can tell you is that we are all intelligent, ambitious individuals. And eventually, I think that it is time for us to look outside of Clarion Glen and look to our neighbors in Borrelwood and look to our neighbors to the east and to the north and in the rest of Dole. There are lots of... Rodri, Reese, you have always been exceptionally loyal to my family and to me, and I appreciate this. I appreciate that greatly. And there are families, and there are houses, and there are people who have not been so loyal to me. And if you were to support me for the next month, for the next 2 months, then by this time you will be Lord of Cambrica Vineyards, and one of you might be Lord of a castle across Dole. One of you might have claimed an empire for the Granwyns that they could not have believed in when they were 100 years ago, still in this ancestral hall. And 100 years from now, you will be a hero. Doesn't that sound good to you, Rodri, Reese?
So this is a... Well, what do you think you're rolling here?
That's a good question. What are the actual skills?
Yeah, there's a tab. There's a tab of the descriptions, if that's helpful.
That would be helpful. Let me open the tab of descriptions. Actional reference, perfect. I think that this is probably... Well, okay. I think reasonably this is probably Sway.
I think you're probably right. You could make an argument, I think, for Consort, but the effect would be lower because they're not feeling very friendly towards you right now. But with Sway, right, I think that's okay. You're in a risky position. There is some risk involved here, but you'll get standard effect. You have currently 0 dice.
I do have currently 0 dice.
I don't know if Vendon, I assume you've sort of drifted over here also. I can't imagine you're not watching this card game.
Yeah.
If Vendon or Sir Kevin would like to help on this roll.
The only thing I could think I might do is, again, subterfuge, drop some some drops to make them especially drunk. The one that was already a little drunk, make them especially drunk, maybe easier to sway. That's all I can think of.
Sure. You don't even really need to use drugs for that. You could just keep topping off his glass throughout the card game,
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
sure.
You know.
So yeah,
just
I'll
making
do
sure-
that if that works.
Make sure the serve. Yeah. So take one stress. Just make sure that
Okay.
Macy just keeps on. Choose, I think, one of your contacts too. Sure. So that's one die.
Okay.
Would you like to push yourself or take a devil's bargain?
Yes, probably. What
Would you like
devil's bargain are you thinking?
I think the devil's bargain is really straightforward. You don't have any other holds to offer him right now except for Foxglove Steading. So right now you're sort of offering him the vague potential of futures to
Yes.
hold for one of them. The devil's bargain is you're offering the other one Foxglove Steading right now.
Okay. That seems like not
It's a lot.
That seems like a lot.
And you know what? I'm actually going to step back from that because honestly, if you do that, you just win, right? That just works. You don't need to roll dice for that to be effective. Is the truth. So let's go with the better. Does anyone have a suggestion for a better devil's bargain here for something that might?
I was gonna say maybe you lose at cards on purpose and we lose some coin.
Yeah, I think that's a really that's a perfectly reasonable thing. It costs you a coin. Give up a coin.
Okay.
So no matter what, you have to throw the game.
Yeah. So that means both in the fiction you lose, and mechanically you lose a coin.
Yes. No, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
That Siobhan has been talked up. She is much worse at cards than Lord Reese.
Yeah, sure.
And also she has not been paying attention to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was paying much more attention to trying to get a spiel out to these two men.
Sure.
And she has not done well in the actual game.
Yeah, sure. And I think Lord Reese chuckles. He's like, oh, "My nephew oversold your skills, Lady Siobhan." And so that's 2 dice, risky standard. Unless you want 1 die risky great, you can pump up that. And then just to clarify what the stakes are here, right? There's no clock. You're really, I mean, assuming this goes well, you will tick some of that clock to kick Lady Irene out. But also, but in the fiction, part of they're not necessarily going to agree to this deal, right? Like you are going to need to provide something concrete.
Yeah.
But if you succeed, there'll be the conversation will have started, right? And we maybe what we'll do is we'll create a clock, something like brothers reconciled, right, over or something like that. That a 4-step clock that you can on the side will be going, and that you could turn, or a 6-step clock that you could also turn into a long-term project if you don't complete it here. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a absolute failure. 1 and a 1.
Oh, no.
Dear. Okay. So here's what happens. First of all, no ticks on either of those clocks. I think Reese, right, super drunk now thanks to Vendon, stands up, slams his cup on the table, and says, "What is this bullshit, milady? Here you are offering things you don't have. Offering things you don't have when well, Lady Iron, let's just say, has been much more generous with us, and Reese, Rodri stalks out of the room. Reese quietly collects his winnings and says, "Yes, you're going to have to be, well, let me just say this. If you were to offer me the hold right now,
Oh, actually, I have a question.
sure.
Would you say that I have a trusted relationship with the Lord's Grandwin?
Not with that engagement role, you don't.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Continue.
I think if Sir Kevin can try and arrange that for you, maybe, but not at this moment.
All right, fair enough.
The whole thing is that they distrust you very much right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't know why, but they do. And Lord Rodri says, I don't know what your game is, Lady Siobhan, but, well, if you can offer me concrete steps towards holding my family manor, maybe we'll have something to talk about. But these palaces in the air, no thank you. And he also walks out. I think this particular party is probably over at this point. I want to hear from Arkina, right, who chased Lady Iron, probably back to that suite that she's staying in, to use the chamber pot. And she walks into her suite and shuts the door. You don't hear it lock. What would you like to do?
Are there like attendants around, or?
There are no. She rushed out so fast. Her servants didn't really follow. Right.
Mhm.
You probably, they will eventually, probably, but at the moment,
Right.
and there may be a servant in the suite. I
Right.
also realize there's one more thing I should do here as a result of that last clock, which is just push the Granwins too far.
Push the Grens too far is a clock we have going now.
Yeah, it's a clock against you. Right, and
How many ticks?
it's a 6-tick clock that I'm ticking once now. So you have some time here. But sorry, so Arkina.
Yeah, I do want to hurt her, but I'm not going to hurt her. I just want to kind of make sure she stays away for a while. And I mean, in my head, that was sort of like barring a door closed, like, in like the high school comedy where this sort of
Sure.
situation happens.
I mean,
But I mean, if the attendants are coming soon, that's not going to last
yeah,
that
and
long.
the reality is that like this night's events are over.
Okay.
Right. So if you want to try and do something proactive, like you have a moment,
Yeah.
you can do that. But like she's not coming back to that party. That party, has, I think Lady Siobhan has effectively ended it.
Yeah, I mean, I really would like to do something proactive, but I don't know that I have a good idea for what that might be.
I mean, you're trying to drive Iron Maze home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are different ways to do that.
You could threaten her. You could.
Yeah, I mean, I want to.
Scorpion in her room.
You could play.
Let me just check Scorpion off on my. No, I mean, I think I want to.
You could do something to make it seem like the Grenwins are no longer as well disposed towards her. Like, there.
Yeah. I mean, I think knowing me, threaten is really the only route here that's particularly accessible to me, I think.
Sure.
Though I do have Vial of Poison in my items, so I could just kill her, I guess.
I mean, that poison also doesn't have to be like deadly poison. If you want, you could make her sick. You could be open to all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to threaten her. Here's my question: is so this, a medic that Vendon, gave, like, is it? I mean, is this all that it does, or is there any like delirium that comes along with it, or?
I think the way we had Brendan, you can say more. The way we framed it up till now is that it's just an emetic.
Mhm.
I don't think if you want to give it a little bit more color than that, Vendon, you can. But I don't think we want to like give you more than what your role gave you.
No,
There.
I
Mhm.
think Venden probably would have gave her something just with this effect because I
Right,
don't want
right.
it to be obvious that she was drugged.
Mhm.
You know, maybe it's something she ate and maybe she can believe that, but I don't want her to be like, oh, someone's trying to kill me or, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to play to my strengths. I think I'm basically going to barge in there and
Yeah, I mean, you find her in a very vulnerable position. She's,
mhm,
like her skirts are kind of out, and she's squatting over the chamber pot. You know, uh, kind of totally at your mercy physically for sure.
Yeah.
There, there. If you take too long, and this is like obvious possible consequences, is that like she does have bodyguards who will come back, but in this moment, you have
mhm.
her.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just, I say, Iron, this isn't a good look for you. And then I want to, um, take out a dagger or something and just like kind of like smash some stuff in the room. I'm kind of angling for being
Oh
able to
yeah,
use
yeah. No, I mean,
brutal.
describe what you do, and you're definitely going to get that. I want just like what are you destroying here?
Um,
How close to her are you getting?
I think, I mean, I'm getting close enough where like, if I hit, like maybe there's some like pottery or something that I hit, and like, some of the chips from that might, land on her skirts. Not so close that like I'm, you know, uh, I guess I'm trying to maintain close enough to be fucking terrifying, but not so close that I might,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
actually kill her.
and she's scared, and she knows you're not trying to kill her, right? I mean, she can see
Mm,
that. She doesn't think you're like wildly flailing, but she see like it doesn't matter. Even if you know someone's not trying to hurt you, if they
mhm,
like, if a knife comes close to your face, that's
right,
scary. You
right.
know what I mean? You in particular are very frightening, obviously.
Hmm.
So yeah, you've got her. You've got her sort of like she's in this very vulnerable position. She's sitting there, squatting there at your mercy while you're showing her exactly how dangerous you can be.
Hmm.
What are you here for? What do you want from me?
This is done. You need to leave. The Grand Winds aren't yours.
Hmm. So I assume you're using command here.
I'm using command. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is clearly a desperate action,
Hmm.
right? I also think the effect is limited,
Okay.
right? Like, you can kill her, right? And she
Hmm.
knows that. But she also knows that like in 3 minutes or whatever, her guards or if she screams, right, her guards are going to show up,
Right.
right? Like things will get fucked up.
Hmm.
If you do kill, like things will go badly for you here if you do like openly
Yeah.
kill her right now. So she doesn't think it's an empty threat. She's terrified of you, but
Right.
also like you can't just. She knows that she can't just. So I think so. So further, rolling under these circumstances is desperate limited. She says,
Hmm.
you know, you're not gonna. You can't make me do that. You can kill me here and now, and please don't. But and but what do you really want? And the question is sort of okay. So you have some tools here to push up your effect level.
Hmm.
Um, uh, um,
Yeah. I mean, I think in the, I sort of see myself kind of some sort of convincing threat to people that she cares about. I mean, I know this family, right? And I know maybe
yeah,
some of the secrets. So I think that, and then I'm also glad to hear a devil's bargain. If
yeah. So I think that's right. I think so the threat. You can't trade position for effect because they're both as low as they can
right
go.
there, yeah, they're
That's what
pretty bad.
that's what that offer would be, right?
Okay.
Um, but you could definitely call it that. That could be called pushing yourself for effect, right?
Okay.
If you want to do that, or if you prefer not to do that and take a devil's bargain, I think the devil's bargain here is, you know, everyone knows that you did this, right?
Mhm.
And in particular, what that's going to do is it's going to aside from the fictional effect, it's going to tick that push gremlins too far clock probably twice.
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to push myself for to put it up to standard effect.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's the so who are you threatening?
I don't like where my first instinct went. Was
I think we have a line, I believe, against threatening children in any way.
Yeah.
Or it's veiled, so you could actually do that.
I'm not going to. I mean, I don't want to do that. That feels too easy, I guess. I mean, what about if this is me taking, too much control of the fiction? Let me know. But what about if she has, like a lover back in the Gilded Meadows that I know about?
That's where my brain went. Also,
okay,
that is also where I think that's great. I think that's awesome.
And I think most people don't know about it, but because of my sort of position, I do.
Sure.
And so I imagine this would be potentially.
It's a combination threat and blackmail too, which is nice, right?
Right. Yeah.
I like that a lot. Sure. I'm kind of wonder if the lover is a Ronna Cath, who is just a vassal of House Maze in the Gilded Meadows, and the wife of Lord Telfrin Cath.
That sounds good to me.
Awesome. Yeah. So you threaten. You said go for it. Roll those dice. 3 dice, risky, a desperate standard, and make sure to tick the standard.
The XP.
Yeah.
I got 6.
You got a 6. Yeah. So I think here's what happens. No one's failing rolls. It's very sad. That's not entirely true.
Siobhan failed a pretty big one.
Good, and I didn't give. I want to come back to that in a second because I realize. Arkina. So she says, okay, listen, I can't just get up and go. You're not the only one who has power over me, but give me a few days and just don't hurt her, and don't tell anyone about her either. And now can you go? My guards will be here in a moment.
You have my word.
I think the guards like appear as you're walking out the door. And what do you tell them?
You need to get a what would the name for? Is it just doctor? Is it just a doctor?
Yeah, just a doctor.
Yeah, you need to get her a doctor. She's not well. She's feeling very poorly.
And that is 2 ticks on the Iron Mazes driven home clock. I really realized later, Siobhan, I did not give you a chance to resist that consequence of pissing off the brothers and consequently getting that clock ticked. So if you want to roll to resist that, you can. These 2 events have happened at the same time anyway. Yes. So
I think it's fine to piss them off a little bit. If we need to hit the brakes later, we'll get the gremlins back on side.
Can I ask what does it mean mechanically to protect a teammate? Like, is that related to resist?
You can resist for them. Basically, it means you'll take on you'll do the resistance roll, and I know you have that special armor. I think that just means you tick the special armor instead of the stress.
Yeah, because you may expend your special armor to protect a teammate.
Yeah, I think it's you do the resistance, and instead of having to roll a resistance roll, you tick your special armor. So now usually resistance rolls kind of tell you how much stress you're taking.
and I think you
exactly.
would just
So
take no stress.
you take
and
no
the
stress.
armor.
Instead, you take your special armor.
Got it. So it's not a roll. It's just a like if I want to protect the claimant in this
Yeah.
instance, I can kind of
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, can you say
like
something to your uncles? I think like you're well positioned to do this.
that's what I was wondering. Like, what if I like kind of like go after Uncle Reese, right? As he like does his like storming off and like try to talk him down just a little, right? Like even just the move is called gallant, right? Like even just call him on the like unchivalrous disrespect he has shown to Lady Siobhan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I here like we're a little bit just to clarify like what the consequence was.
Yeah.
Right. It's that they feel offended by like the emptiness of the offer.
Mhm.
Right. Like she thinks she can get them for nothing. Right. So it's a sort of like, well, you're being unchivalrous to her. I don't know that that's. It works if you want to do it, but I feel like you can sort of come up with a stronger argument there.
Sure. I mean, I think he's like deep in his cups, right? So maybe I'm Joe approaching with like more kind of more animation and less restraint than I otherwise would, right? As I say, Lord Uncle, I know you didn't mean to say what you just said to your liege lord. Lady Siobhan is not an idle claimant. Her drive is real. She is going to be queen of this whole land, and I want to be there as she ascends, and I hope you will be with me. She is going to bring good things to this realm. She has what it will take, and I'm surprised you don't recognize that.
Yeah, I think he kind of laughs at you, not like in a mean way, but in a kind of in a condescending way.
Uh-huh.
It's very drunk. Also, he's like, oh, young Kevin. I'm sure you mean so well. And he just is like and you mean so well. Placing your hopes in rulers to make things better is a fool's game, but for your sake, I will listen to her again, and I won't. And he's stuttering like that. He's like, he's having a hard time getting these words out because he's so drunk. He's like, I won't hold it against her. And he takes one last swig from his cup, which is empty, and says, I probably won't even remember it, as he stumbles off to bed. And so that clock is not ticked. All right, let's take our second break. Let's take 5, come back at 35 past, and frame up our next scene after that.
I feel dumb asking this, Jesse, but one of your clocks is Lady Sarah's plan. I don't know who Lady Sarah is. You're muted.
Lady Sarah Derek is the Wraith Queen.
Oh, okay. So that's not really what we're not messing with that one in this sortie.
No, basically, the top two were sort of like overarching, like plot clocks. Then you picked this as your sortie, so that first clock is kind of related to the sortie now.
Sure.
And I might that could get ticked during. I mean, either of them could get ticked during the sortie, but like this one, you're not directly acting on either of them on the Lady Sarah clock here for sure.
Okay.
I mean, I guess there are things you could do here that might move it along, but since I don't even know what her plan actually is really yet, just her goal, like, probably not.
Right. If the Wraiths show up, it's going to be a different kind of story.
Yep. Oh, look, that could be a fun devil's bargain. Yeah, you do it, but the Wraiths show up. Or a Wraith shows up. All right, give Alexi another minute, and then we'll. You're making good progress here. Hello. Okay, folks. So I'm gonna sort of. I have ideas of like a couple of scenes we could hard frame here that would set you up, with some obstacles. Or if you have, you basically know what the deal is now. So if you have, you're here visiting, if you have like a scene you want to frame with one of these NPCs or with each other, you definitely can. So I'm going to throw it out to you first, and if no one has anything they want to do, then I will frame something.
For color's sake, I want to say that like the next morning, Lady Siobhan, when you step out of your room, you see Sir Kevin like, leaning against the wall, right, of the door there, and he like quickly brushes sleep from his eyes, stands at attention. He says, "Can't be too careful with the risks, my lady."
And Siobhan smiles and she says, "Thank you, Sir Kevin. I understand that this is a this is a very personal visit, and I thank you for your dedication to our cause."
You are welcome, my lady. I just wish I knew better how to bring my uncles round to you.
Siobhan, waves a hand. She says, "That is not your job here. But I appreciate that. But I appreciate your candor, and I appreciate that you are enthusiastic for us to continue on our path." Kevin, I obviously hope that nothing happens here, but if one of your uncles does choose to commit treason, I don't know. I hope that you know that it would be traitorous. I hope that if they speak to you, you share that all you know. But I know that you are a dedicated follower of myself, and I know that you are not in question, Captain. So please, the morning is bright. If you have anything to go about your business.
Yeah, it's a funny thing because as you're right as you finish this, you see coming down the hall, right? The end of this guest hall is where the sort of royal suite where Iron is staying. Sir Rodri, which one? Hold on. Sir Rodri comes walking down the hall from her suite with a along with Maisie beside him, carrying a tray with 2 empty plates, right, and as if this is not implying that he spent the night there, but just that they had an early breakfast together. I mean, you're welcome to draw whatever conclusions you like, but I just want to make it clear I wasn't trying to imply that. He says to you as he stops by, it's the strangest damn thing. Lady Iron says she has to pack up and leave pretty soon. After she was so eager to stay with us. And she sort of looks at you, Lady Siobhan, and he looks at you and sort of raises an eyebrow. But there is now another tick has come on the usurper picks a Granwin clock. She hasn't picked one yet, but Lady Iron's rush to leave is speeding up that process.
Yes,
Sure.
Makes sense. Siobhan is going to greet Lady Iron.
You're gonna walk down to her suite. She's still there, or do you want to sort of set up a meeting with her to have it take place somewhere else? Walk in a garden could be a nice little.
Well, Siobhan is just going to walk straight to her suite. Actually, knows that she's there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you indicate you want Sir Kevin with you, Lady Siobhan?
Or
Are you hoping for a heart-to-heart, like a one-on-one thing?
I think it does not. Siobhan does not ask Kevin to come, but Kevin can come, and it will not negatively impact anything, obviously. So,
yeah, then he will follow.
okay. And Siobhan will get to Maze's door and knock on it.
Yeah, a servant opens it. Yes, milady?
I was hoping to have words with Iron. I heard that regrettably she had to leave so soon.
One moment, milady. Door is shut in your face for a second. Then she, a minute. You hear like steps walking away. It's a big suite. you know exactly how big that suite is. Right? And then so it takes a minute or two. She walks. She comes back. She says, "Milady will see you." She it's morning, right? So there's probably some there's no hot water anymore because they had to bring it in from the kitchen, but there's like a tray with a carafe of juice and a pitcher of water if you want to pour yourself some. And she gestured to you to take a seat. Sir Kevin, do you come in? Do you wait outside?
I guess it's what do I have a sense of like how many servants Lady Iron has and like how armed they are?
I mean, so I'd say it's fair to say that you've over the course of the day and a half, whatever you've been there, right? You've sort of like assessed that she has probably like a couple bodyguards who stay in her room and like a few more who are in the barracks, right? So you there are probably 2 guards and a servant and 2 or 3 servants and her lady in waiting Seonag.
I will step in and then kind of like position myself next to the door in like a very clearly like guarding Lady Siobhan way, right? Like
you mean just inside the door of the suite.
Exactly. Like I'm not inserting myself into the conversation, but standing there as a watchful.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
So may I offer you some water or juice, Siobhan?
Water would be lovely.
So she poured you some water into like a crystal goblet, and
Siobhan has it. She drinks some water as she speaks.
Yeah.
Siobhan says, Iron, it's come to my attention that I don't think we've had a chance to speak one-on-one. And now you're leaving so soon. It seems
Well,
important that we do.
Not quite yet. I'm here the rest of the day. I'm maybe one more night. I hope not. But perhaps.
Siobhan Naji says, "Of course. It takes time to pack things, especially with a retinue. But well, it's been so long since I was in Wyvern City. How is my cousin?"
Well, I also have not been in Wyvern City for very long. In quite a while. You know, I'm in Barrowwood now with my husband. I do correspond with your cousin. Very, very occasionally. Mostly, I just hear about her health from my cousins. You know, the in Gilded Meadow in particular. What's his name? In particular, Lord Broderick, who I know is very close with your cousin. And that's and you know, none of this is like a real surprise to you, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know who she works for, you know who her connections are. But what she's sort of saying is, like, I don't know her as well as you seem to be claiming I do. Right. You know, but from what I hear, her health is quite good. The queen does quite well, as I understand it.
Yeah. And this is not a lie, of course.
No, I mean, 100% telling you the truth.
Great.
But she also might not know, right? Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah.
In that case, Siobhan says, I'd like you to allow me to be blunt with you, Iron.
And you hear like steel in her voice, as she says, "Your lackey was pretty blunt with me last night, so
Lackey.
I'm fine. I'm fine with removing the pretense." She gestures her servants and bodyguards to leave the room.
Kevin, Siobhan gestures for Kevin to leave as well.
Very warily, Kevin will step away with like a real, like, you know, you're sure, like, you know, facial expression to Lady Siobhan.
Yeah, Siobhan gives a firmer second nod to get Kevin out of the room.
All right, I'll leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she says, "Yes, your lackey, my cousin's former ward, that outrider. You had her come and give me, well, quite a fright, and I'm doing what she said. I am packing up to go."
I did not speak to her. I will, however, have words. I'm sorry. If I had known that she had been so crude, I would not have allowed it to happen. I apologize.
So you're saying her threat was empty?
Well, I think that you might have gotten a mixed message from my group. I apologize.
You
Iron,
plan
we got
to do
off on the wrong
treason
foot.
against the queen. I understand exactly what you're here for. And I don't begrudge it you. Shoot your shot, but don't pretend that it's anything other than what it is.
All right.
Grubbing for power.
Fine. Look me in the eyes, Iron.
She looks you in the eyes.
Have you ever even spoken to Owena Derrick face to face?
Once.
And do you think that Owena Derrick will be kind to you for this? Kind to your family?
I don't care about Owena Derrick.
Well, you care about power. Iron. I'm not going to play with you. There's no one listening. You care about power, Iron.
I care about power, and I care about family, and I care about Owena Derrick. Queen Owena Derrick has been very good to my cousin. whom has always been very good to me and shown me nothing but love. And so I return that love, and he returns hers, and such is the way of our kingdom.
Owena Derrick has been very good to your cousin, Iron. Owena Derrick has not said a damn word to you.
She doesn't need to.
She ought to. You are going to the bastard ends of the earth, to Clarion Glen, to these godforsaken vineyards where no one would ever want to go, so far from Wyvern, so far from Borrowwood, so far from home, and you're doing this for a woman who does not care about you, who you've met once, who you exchange monthly letters with. Why not work for someone who actually gives a toss about your life? Why not work for someone who will listen to what you have to say? You're a smart woman, Iron.
I do it not for her. I do it for Lord Broderick Mays, and I do it for another person who you seem to have completely forgotten. My husband, Lord Trevor Istham.
I have nothing against Lord Trevor Eastwood. I have nothing against the Mays family. I have nothing against you, Iron. I have something against my...
When you can
I have
offer them
words for Owena Derrick, and I'm not going to, and out of respect for you and out of respect for the woman that you are working for, I'm not going to share them. But it's very clear that I think a certain way of Owena, and Owena thinks a certain way about me. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. Okay? Whether I'm right, whether she's right, who cares? Who cares, Iron? Who cares? The fact of the matter is that only one of us is speaking to you right now, and only one of us is willing to offer you money into my service. A woman who you actually will speak to, a woman who actually will have to listen to what you have to say, and not some woman in Wyvern City so far away, sending you on suicide missions, sending you to squabble with planters.
So, I think we're at the point of a roll here.
Yeah.
What are you rolling?
I think this is consort to make a new contact.
I mean, I'm willing to buy that it's consort, just because whatever it is, it's limit. Like it's going to be. Well, she's not.
It's either consort or command, I think.
I mean, either
I
one
think
of
consort makes more sense, but you know.
Here's the problem: she's not your friend. Command is definitely zero effect.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and you can pump up zero effect. Right. It's not just limited. I'll say you can have limited effect for consort.
Okay.
I'm not. I'll say you can have limited effect for consort here, although I personally think it's closer to sway. But you know, this is you're meeting over a meal. You know, this is you limited effect. The situation is the position is controlled, right? She has no power over you here, right? Like if this doesn't go right, you're not in a terrible position. Like, well, I guess we'll say standard. We'll say risky actually, because it can still fuck up your situation in terms of your negotiations. But so limited, risky limited right now. And just to sort of like understand the reason it's limited is that like she doesn't need money. You're offering to bribe her, right? Like she believes in the feudal system. She is connected personally to two people who are connected personally to the queen. She doesn't need a personal connection to the queen, right? So like that's sort of the and she doesn't have a personal relationship with you, such that like the consort is really helping there.
Yeah, reasonable.
Right. You know, so that's so right now you're at risky limited. Alexi, Sir Kevin, is there a way you think you can help from where you're at? I want to like give you the chance to be creative. I'm having a hard time thinking of one, but if you can be creative about it.
Man, I don't know that I don't know that it's obvious how I could help in the moment, right? Like best I could do is try to consort with Lady Iron's people and learn something that's useful for the future.
Okay, so there's no real help there. Do you want to push yourself, devil's bargain?
I will. Yes, I think I would like to push myself.
So you can do it for an extra die or for greater effect.
Yes, I would like to push myself for an extra die, and I would also like to trade position and effect.
Sure, you could definitely. So how are you making this more desperate, but more effective?
Well, I think that I have kind of put a lot of cards on the table here, in terms of how I am, just eyewitness to this woman who is spying for Rowena Derrick about how I am fomenting revolution in Clarion Glen.
Yeah, but Rowena Derrick kind of knows that, so.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
I'm fine with that. I mean, you're really now that there's one more person to point that, she may care more now. I totally buy that, if you want to say that. And how does that make you more effective? Like, what's the? Is it just like you're making yourself vulnerable to her, and she's like, okay, maybe I can use that?
It is, yeah. Basically, I am. It is very clearly a true proposition, with the vulnerability that Siobhan is allowing herself. I think it is obviously sincere in some way.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So you have 2 dice. Desperate standard. Let's roll it. Sorry, did you roll yet?
No.
So quickly, I just want to talk about what you're trying to achieve here. Right?
Okay.
Doesn't sound like you're trying to talk her into leaving. I mean, I guess it's sort of give up on this quest, right? Come over to my side and give up on this quest. Great.
Give up on this quest, sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit. It would obviously, in the immediate sense, it's. I guess if she gives up, right, that is effectively the same as her leaving, right?
Yep.
But yeah,
Sure, and then there'll be the fictional piece of her at least contemplating to taking this deal, right? So that's there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
So,
I just want to make sure you're also moving mechanically towards where you want to go.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Roll it.
Okay, so that is a 5 and a 1. A 5.
5.
Mixed
Fantastic.
success.
So mixed success. So on a desperate roll. So the first thing that happens is so you what do you say? It was so you 2 ticks on the clock. First of all, hooray! And she says, "Damn you! Look, I am my cousin's creature, and is because of him I married my husband, and our interests are aligned, and it's all good. But I will tell my cousin that you're open to deal. That's the most I can do. I will not become some spy for you, but I will.
I wouldn't dream of asking you to become some spy for me.
But I will bend the ears of House Mays and see if perhaps they will listen to you.
Thank you.
So that's your success.
Yeah.
And now the consequences. So there's a couple of things. But I still must do my duty before then, she says. And there's 2 things. Number 1, there's going to be, I think, 2 ticks on the Usurper Pixel. Just one thing. 2 ticks on the Usurper Pixel clock. And she has made up her mind about which Granwyn they're going to support.
Okay. I'm going to resist that consequence.
I thought you might. Um, and you can see, and she tells you. I think she. I think she. I don't think she tells you, but you can see in her face that she's made up her mind. And of course, the last one she talked to was Rodri.
Yes.
So I think you can do the math and figure out she's made up her mind. She's picked Rodri. How do you resist that? What do you say to her or do, or perhaps say to Rodri afterwards? It could be a longer term resist.
Well. Okay. Well, I just want to make sure how resistance rolls work in this.
Absolutely.
Because I know that in Blades, it's just your worst thing.
Oh no! So that's not resistance. That's vice. The way this resistance works in both this game and Blades I choose whether you're resisting based on insight, prowess, or resolve based on the fiction. Rules as written, it's sort of like based on what kind of consequence it is, but I usually like to ask, like, what are you doing to resist, and then decide based on your action.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I just had to go back over the rules there.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, I think that Siobhan shakes her head and says, I understand, obviously, that you are here for a reason, and then the reason that you are here is to give Awena a Granwyn to pick. I understand. You have a job to do. The Granwyns are not in any. Awena would be disappointed with the Granwyns. If either one of them, she would be disappointed with. Look at them. Give her neither.
Mm-hmm. And again, she doesn't say anything to give away, but you can see she's like thinking about them again, and she's like, okay, she hasn't quite made up her mind yet anymore, and that's a resolve resist. So you get 3.
Okay.
Your dice.
And that is a 5, so I take 1 stress.
You take 1 stress. Fantastic. So look, it's 11 o'clock now, my time. I don't know where you folks are at. I do say 3 to 3.5 hours. I try to keep it closer to the shorter end. There's one more tick on this clock. You folks mind hanging out for another few minutes to try and get that last bit of the sortie done? Fantastic. So I'm going to turn to you, Vendon. Vendon. So Lady Siobhan has spoken to Irina, and she assume that I'm going to assume you sort of like heard more or less what's been going on. You've got your finger on the pulse, right? You know that she's going to go quick, and you just have to get her out of there before she can do something that will like tip the scales. The castle is your playground. How do you want to play it? Castle, the manor.
So I've had this idea all session. I don't know if it fits anymore, but work with me and see if we can use this.
Let's try and use it.
I was thinking of sort of blackmailing. What's her name? Megan? Is it Megan Bloden?
Sure.
Having like a flashback where we see that wine that I gave her son was poisoned, and he's been taken into custody by my agents, and I throw his glove or something that has their sigil on her table, and I say, you never speak to Lady Erin again, something like that.
We can do all here. We can do all of that in flashback before you're going to have to roll, and before you even roll, that's a 2 stress flashback, because that's a lot. But you can definitely do that. Here's my pitch, just in terms of like a way to make it sort of fit, because she's not here, right? So like, well, all of this has been going on, right, over and even before this, right? Even before this. Right. Like you've been corresponding with her, right? Negotiating this deal, this thing, right? And depending upon how if this goes the way you want it, right? So Lady Megan's like her ace in the hole, right? She's like, if the grand ones don't work out, I can at least turn to her, right? But Lady Shaban just talked her out of the grand ones, at least for the moment, and she's in a hurry, right? And if you succeed on whatever we decide this role is, that's all right. That's when the messenger comes to say that Lady Megan is out of whatever shenanigans.
Right.
Does that work
Sure.
for you?
Yeah. Maybe me even talking to Lady Megan is.
Yeah. Well, we can do. Yeah. I mean, let's flash back to those letters, right? To those letters, and if you want to. Or even you can like meet in the cover of Night After the Party to have that conversation between the two, between her keep and the between the keep and the manor, right?
Sure.
Because it's there, it's in between, I believe, Iron Burl and the vineyard,
right?
So you ride out at in the middle of the night on your horse, right? Torch. You should probably check off your horse on.
Sure. Okay.
You don't need to check off a torch; it's fine. But a horse, you should have a horse, I believe,
sure.
right?
Actually, I have fine riding horse.
Yep.
2 ticks. There we go. Got me there fast. I've got what's the horse in Lord of the Rings? Shadowfax.
Shadowfax. Yeah. So she's there in like an oil cloak, right? With like 2 guards with her. You're meeting under a tree. I think it's probably drizzling. Get some of that skulking of vibes, and she like by the crossroads. She says, "Chancellor Black Cow,
Lady Megan,
you've brought me here. You've threatened my son. What's this about?"
It's an opportunity. You make the right choice, and the future will be bright for you. You make the wrong choice, and your future will be dark.
He's such a good kid. He just wants to fight some wraiths. What you're doing to him.
No one understands the stakes that we're playing with here. This is a realm. This is life and death. There's no middle ground.
She frowns and she says, There are ways your lady could have my support. We're the only people here who actually call her queen, But
you spoke to that spy. You spoke to that traitor.
If she'll give me what I want, I'll call her queen too. And I think maybe this is where the role comes in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm aiming for sway.
Yep, that sounds absolutely right to me. I think this is risky, standard, right?
Okay.
Nothing.
Do you think my +1 effect of my spies would have any influence on this?
I don't think so. Like your spies are not taking this action. You are.
Okay.
I'm trying to just look at your stuff here to see if maybe you have
documents, treatise on history. Probably not.
You tell me what the fine gift you're giving her is. That might get you increased effect, but it has to be.
Sure. Let's see.
Something to like soften this threat, right? Carrot and stick.
Right. Yeah, I'll mark fine gift. I will give her a. What's our city known for? Does it have any particular fine luxury good that's associated with that?
There's the wines of the vineyard, which
sure.
Would be ironic.
Maybe, yeah, maybe before I left, I stole the best bottle of wine out of the cellars of the Grandwins.
Does she maybe read it as like a tacit promise? Is probably too strong a word, but like a tacit suggestion that the vineyards could still be hers.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah. So that is. I mean, not that you really need great effect, is the truth. Because you only need 1 tick on the clock. But but yeah, you can go ahead and do you want to push yourself or take a devil's bargain?
Let's see, I got two dice right now. I think you know what? I'm gonna go with just 2 dice.
Sure.
What was it again?
Risky great.
Risky great. Okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Although I could get an XP, although pushing it up, getting greater effect isn't going to do me much good, is it?
No.
Okay,
I
I'll
mean,
just
you
go.
can't be higher than great if you want to not take the gift. Anyways, yeah.
Sure, I'll just go 2 dice.
Yeah.
Here we go. I got a 4.
All right. So a 4 is a mixed success. So first of all, she's like, fine, give me the antidote.
Right.
And she walks off, rides off, just a shore guard. Flash forward to the present. And Lady Megan's messenger comes, while Siobhan is getting up to leave. She glances down at Lady Iron glances down at the note and says, "Damn it! Well, I guess I'm going." She said, I think she says it very clearly, Lady Siobhan. She tells you, "I guess I'm going to have to tell my cousin that I'm leaving empty-handed. The Queen will not be pleased, but I'll pass along your message to him." And she sort of like, the time for you to go. So that clock ticks, right? She's leaving.
I take 2 stress for the flashback, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But there's a consequence which you can resist, Fendon. Or anyone can choose to step in for you and resist if they want. And that consequence, I think, is going to be. Let me look at the clocks we have here. The consequence is one last thing.
I was thinking that the worst thing I would want to have happen is that Lady Siobhan would find out what I did.
Yeah, but I mean, I actually don't think
maybe that would have been a devil's bargain.
That could have been a good devil's bargain. Yeah, I think this is something like much more straightforward than that. I think it's not that Lady Siobhan finds out what you did, but that the Granwyns find out. And here's the thing, and I will now reveal this to you. No one tried to figure this out, but the reason they were so pissed off at you to begin with was that Lady Iron had convinced them that you had been negotiating with Lady Megan to give them to give her their holding, because they were being recalcitrant with you. And I mean, they thought that. But now, one of the Granwyns servants followed you and saw you negotiating with Lady Megan. So now they have evidence. And I think that's mechanically that turns into 2 ticks on the push Granwyns too far clock. Which is, sort of competing with some of these other Granwyn clocks, right? A bunch of those to exist, but you can resist it.
I think maybe I resist it. I spot the spy and I kill them.
Sure. So that's clearly a
prowess.
Yeah, that's clearly a prowess resist.
That's 1 die, right?
1 die.
All right, let's go for it.
You want a low roll here. A high roll here. Sorry, a high roll here.
Yeah. And there's no modifiers. There's no devil's
Nope.
bargains. Nothing of that. Okay, here we go.
Nope.
Ooh. I got a 1. So that's 5 stress.
That's 5 stress. That's a scar.
A scar.
It's a good time. Honestly, it's a good time to pick up a scar because the sortie's over. So if you want to think about what that scar is.
Yeah. I my whole wraith touch might be where I go with that.
Sure. I mean, maybe that's what happens. Maybe that's why, like you kill them, but like a wraith catches up with you out in the dark.
Or maybe do you immediately a wraith immediately come from the corpse when you kill someone sometimes?
It could.
Especially if it's like an evil sort of killing or murder.
In this
Kinda
moment, maybe
yeah.
maybe this guy was also wraith touched. Maybe
Well, I
that.
think it says that actually the wraith is strongest right when you kill them, right?
Hmm.
Or no?
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure the
Yes,
mechanics of
yes,
it.
okay.
Those.
I'm going to be honest. I don't pay that
Cool
much
deaths
attention to
are what makes
the
a
wraith
wraith
lore
strong.
in the book because I figured we
Sure.
just make
There's
it
not
up
much
as
of
we
it.
go.
Yeah.
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 So
So it's a very dubious murder, you know. So the poor guy,
Yeah.
you know, if it works for everybody, you know, maybe a wraith reaches out and, you know, scars me even more than I was before.
Yeah. I mean, and we could just now you have the scar wraith touched.
Right.
And,
Right.
that will mechanize the thing that you were already doing anyway, and that
Yeah.
great.
now you can get XP for it. Wonderful. Okay, so we are pretty short on time. Let's do end of session, and then we'll probably skip stars and wishes just because of it's late. But if folks want to email me wishes for next session,
Sure.
or just let me know like if there's things you want to see, and I'll ask you at the beginning of the session too. Are folks cool with all that? Great. So let's go through our XP triggers. Josh, did you address a challenge by following the counsel of your retinue?
Yeah.
You certainly did. Did you ask a member of your retinue to take a risk or make a sacrifice?
That's what I would try to do with the scene with Sir Kevin.
If you think you hit it, you hit it. If you think you got there,
I'll say so.
sure.
Yeah, you asked me to sacrifice my family if the
Yeah. You
need be.
definitely you straightforwardly did. It's one of his drives or one of his beliefs. That's a real sacrifice. You made sacrifices to fulfill a promise to an ally or vassal.
Nah, probably not.
Not really. You expressed your background or scars.
I talked about Wyvern City.
Sure. You express your beliefs and drive. I would say so.
Yeah. Okay.
Wonderful.
So 4.
And you can, if you don't have to put those in playbook. You can also put those in the other things if you want to try and do that. Cool. Okay. Alexi, did you take risks to protect the claimant?
Stayed up all night guarding her room.
Sure. Did you make sacrifices to put the claimant's interests before your own?
Rather than trying to figure out kind of my own handle on my family's affairs, I worked to work to get her across the table from my uncles.
Mm-hmm. Did you take initiative to advance the claimant's name?
I talked up her card playing skills.
100%. Did you express your background or scars?
Yeah, I mean we're right here in my family estate where my precarious position is always being impressed on me.
Yes. Did you express your beliefs and drive?
Bring peace to my fractious family. Claimant is my trusted ruler and unrequited love. I'll uphold her honor in defiance of any who disrespect her. Yes.
Yes, you very much did. Wonderful. Okay. Jason, did you take initiative to call in a favor or collect on a debt?
Yeah, I tried to set up a favor system with the brother, with the Bloat-ins, and then I guess I kind of called it in at the end.
Yep, 100%. Did you make sacrifices to pursue a long-term goal?
My body is wraith touched now.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
You put yourself at risk and then it costs you. That's a sacrifice. You challenge the claimant's assumptions on a situation or problem.
Yeah, I definitely was pushing for a more aggressive solution to our issue here.
You were. Did you express your background or scars?
I kind of like this is the origin story of my wraith touched, maybe.
Sure. You expressed your beliefs. Did you express your beliefs and drives?
I don't think I did this week. I don't think I got into the whole art thing this week.
No, but you did try and point the claimant in the right direction.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. All right, I'll buy it.
Wonderful. Okay, and last but not least, Jex, did you make sacrifices to gain a strategic advantage?
Yeah, I mean, I I think so. If making sacrifices is doing dumb stuff,
Oh yeah,
that could get me killed, or in a lot of trouble.
I would think so. Yes. Did you take initiative to preempt a threat?
Yeah, I definitely did.
hmm Did you counsel the claimant to choose aggression over compromise?
No, we never really got there.
Fair enough. Did you express your background or scars?
Well, I don't have any scars yet, but I think, I mean, my background came up.
You
As
definitely
an
expressed
outrider,
your
yeah.
maze background. You
Oh yeah, in the maze house, yeah, for sure.
100%. And you express your beliefs and drive.
I think so. I mean, I put myself in harm's way to protect her.
hmm Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, folks, this was great. If you have wishes, send wishes. I think, if you don't mind, we'll do that. We'll start with downtime, but I actually think the first thing we should start with is the conversation between Lady Siobhan and Arkina. I think that's a high drama scene that will be valuable. Alexi, sorry you won't be able to be here. Anyways, I'm going to end this recording. That's what I should do. Have a great night, anyone watching or who will